guys, welcome. Hannah here again, and we are back to Companions. We were on chapter 2 in a restaurant, and let's continue. So, let's just skip these parts. We have already seen it. She pushed her broccoli with a fork, sending it rolling into the swamp of gravy, and smiled bracket. Such an hard word. Okay, let's just skip it. Like mother, like daughter, I guess. That's not what I meant. She sighed, her hunched shoulders relaxing and the tension softening from her expression. Yeah, I know. Anyway, she probably works in a nightclub as one of those girls. Well, not a girl anymore, I guess. Iris seemed impatient when talking about her mom. I suppose girls her age were like that. I can't understand you. You are talking so openly now, but you pretended to be so shy yesterday. I couldn't help but comment when I saw the grace and ease with which she now behaved. That's because I began, her eyes flashing shrewdly as she played with a small dessert spoon. If I act shy, people will think, oh, poor girl, there must be a reason she's doing this and take pity on me. But if I laugh and act nonchalant, like right now, people will think I'm. I held up one hand to stop her from saying it more. Her face was bright red. Anyway, I just prefer to be petted by others. I feel loved that way. She bit her lower lip and rubbed her eyes with one finger. Her voice sounded oddly, nasally. Sorry. That was embarrassing, so emotional. She covered her lips with her slender fingers and turned her face away in embarrassment. Sniffling a little, she checked her reflection in the mirror. When she looked up again, it was with a smile, and there was no sign she had been crying just a few seconds ago. Even if the tip of her nose and her cheeks were a tiny bit red. If she could fake even that, then I didn't mind being fooled. I didn't know what to say to comfort her. The waiter's arrival with dessert and drinks was so, timed that I had to wonder whether he had been eavesdropping on the side. I ordered an herbal tea with a long name. It arrived with a ceramic tea set and looked much more sophisticated than my single cup of hot coffee. She poured the clear yellow liquid out of the teapot, took a sip, and put down the teacup with a grimace. It's bitter. Want mine instead? I pushed my still black coffee towards her, as well as the milk and sugar in case she wanted them. No, thanks. She seemed to realize she sounded blunt. She crossed her hands in front of her face and explained, I can drink coffee, but I don't like it. I don't like wine either. You could add some sugar to your tea and see if that makes it better. Are you guys flitted from left to right? And she smiled in slight embarrassment as if there was something she wanted to say. What's wrong? Want to change your order? You should be able to. No, she closed her eyes and shook her head. It was as if that simple action had sucked unwanted noise from the room. The restaurant was so quiet. Just wanted to ask you if I couldn't change my tea for your dessert. She smiled, and it was as if color had flooded back into the room. Sure. For some reason I felt quite sunny as I watched Hyrie enjoy her 2 helpings of dessert. Hey, I was feeling quite full as I poured myself the 4th cup of herbal tea as at the moment Hyrie spoke. I badly needed to use the restroom, but from Iris' serious expression, I figured I was better off waiting, in case the interruption annoyed her. Nothing. She began to play with her panna cotta, and then put a small spoon into her own mouth, along with her unspoken words. I was planning to leave after this meal because you had been so nice to me. Iris bit her lower lip, revealing the tips of her teeth. I couldn't help leaning forward, holding my stomach. It was not, however, because of her words. That's just not like me, though. So I have decided to stay and spend all your money. What's wrong? You look terrible. Whoa! Did what I said hurt you that much? Yeah, the part of spend all your money. It was weird though. She stood up and leaned toward me, her concerned expression not quite a match for her words. No, what? I really need to use the restroom. I really need, yeah, okay.
什么嘛，人家明明就很认真在跟你说，却突然跑到洗手间去。
Okay, they are in the car now. I was trying to figure out the place. Okay. I really need to use the restroom. Yeah, I already read it. You are no funny. You're no fun. I was being so serious, but you just ran off to use the toilet. Iris' complaint came as she leaned against the car's passenger seat window. But then she left. Really though, you could have just gone wherever you wanted. You drank so much tea after all. I only waited because you looked as if you had something important to say, so I thought I should let you finish. Oh, and put your seatbelt. I pulled the seatbelt across her chest, while objecting in an endearingly sweet voice. I'm so full though. Being strapped in is uncomfortable. I believe it. Girls rarely finish a meal that large out by themselves. Hey, what are you doing? Something hard jabbed me in the ribs. I glanced down to see it was Iris' elbow. She raised an eyebrow and muttered, "You called me skinny, and now you're complaining I eat too much. Don't elbow your driver, it's dangerous." I was just speaking the truth. Iris' personality kept changing, with drastically new expressions crossing her face every minute. Understanding her was certainly a challenge. There were only 4 days left before I went underground. Even if I'd had 10 minutes, that though, I probably still wouldn't be able to understand this teenage girl. The buses, cleared alone, suddenly began playing within the car. I knew it was my phone's ringtone, of course, and so I also knew that the call was from an old colleague of mine. There was no rush to answer. Iri, wherever, grabbed my phone from its dock, accepted the call, and handed the phone to me, all the while complaining, "What a boring ringtone, doesn't suit you one bit." I glared at her sideways. It wasn't exactly the safe to drive while on the phone, but Iri had already accepted the incoming call, and it certainly won't do for her to answer it. Perhaps my colleague had already heard her speaking. It wasn't as tough Iri was being special discreet. "Hello? Where are you? And who was that just now?" As I expected, I was greeted by the deep, energetic voice of my colleague. The voice paused before continuing. "That's your daughter?" "Phew," I began, almost accidentally cursing at my ex-colleague whom I hadn't talked to for more than a month. Somehow, I'd almost forgotten what he was like. I mean, no! She's my, It was difficult to come up with a sensible excuse for having a girl with me, while focusing on steering with my free hand. Ari was making faces at me, making it even harder to concentrate. "I'm driving. Call you later," I said, moving to hang up, but no making it before my colleague yelled, as loudly as if you were suddenly thrown out of scorching coals. Fine, fine. Come over and have dinner with us, huh? I's got something special prepared. My mouth hung open as I tried to formulate an answer. Ari mouthed it beside me. Who is it? The car behind me flashed its lights, signaling that it wanted to overtake us. The traffic light 20 meters away showed 8 seconds remaining. Just come, alright? You know we won't have many chances to be together in the future, and I's saying she won't cook if you don't come. Hey, what is exactly going on? You look so... How about we pull over? Here, honey. Come tell your uncle you want him to have dinner with us. Fine, fine, I'll be there. I'll finally be there. I hung up and put my foot on the brakes just in time for the red light. I took the opportunity to tell Iris about the invitation. Invitation to where? Iris asked, her tone like that of an old friend. It was funny how familiar we'd become after just one night and 2 meals. I wondered briefly whether we were more like siblings or lovers. My friends from my old job called to invite us to have dinner with them, husband, wife, and kids. Is he just going to bring her over? Oh, so they worked at the observatory too? I asked, tugging on her seatbelt with one hand so she could turn to face me completely. I decidedly said, invite us, instead of invite me, yeah, you did. But I didn't seem to have noticed. Yeah, problem is, how do I explain to them who you are if I bring you? The light turned green and the car behind me, mine, honked at us. So understanding, so civilized. Whoa, you're bringing me without thinking it over. It did sound weird, come to think of it. I had automatically assumed we were both invited instead of just me. The idea of us sounded particularly nice for some reason. Though I'd been forced into Iris' company at first, I began to feel fortunate that I won't have to spend my remaining days on the surface alone. My colleague's family must have thought that too, for them to invite me. Colleagues, husband and wife, are they the Lo Yongja and Aing you mentioned at lunch? Let's stop here. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce Chinese words, so I'm really sorry. I'd actually barely said anything about them. Just mentioned them in passing when talking about my job. Women seem to have extraordinarily good memories for names and personalities. Chinese, Taiwan, I don't know how to extinguish those. You can say I'm her girlfriend you met while traveling. Ari suggested she turned her gaze back to the front and rested her head on her hands. No way! They think something wrong with me. A lot of people like little girls though. Besides, I'm almost 18. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I turned my head to shake the right side view mirror, only to come face to face with Iris' dazzling smile. How about something more normal? Like cousins. I thought I did have a cousin around Iris' age, but I wasn't familiar enough with her to know if she'd be willing to play along with my story. Besides, I had been colleagues with these people for years, and they already knew quite a bit about my family. It will be hard for Iris, whom I'd only met yesterday, to pass herself off as my cousin. Why would your cousin be staying with you anyway? Unless she's just a little girl. Wait, do you still see me like that, even after we... Okay, calm down. That's not what I meant. If we can't be cousins, then let's... Iris sighed. Psych. one hand against the car window and a slightly unhappy look on her face. If it's gonna be troublesome for you, I can't just stay at your place. I can't exactly object if you want to leave me behind, can I? She smiled weakly, yet her face seemed relaxed. I couldn't tell what she was really thinking.
只要给我饭吃跟钱就好。
I'll be fine as long as you give me money and good food to eat. Hehe. Iris smiled. I couldn't help patting her head with my right hand, and was surprised when she didn't resist. If we can't come up with a good excuse, you can still come along if you want. I'd known Yonja and Yaing for a long time now, and I didn't think they would mind even if I told them the truth. They did have a 7-year-old child though, so it was possible they could be sensitive about the subject. Either way, I'd consider it when we get home. Yeah, now we are home. I received another call from Yonja. When we reached my place, he reminded me to bring stargazing equipment. When I asked him why, he sounded shocked. What? Don't you know there's a meteor shower tonight? Oh, right. You're an astronomer. How could you forget that? Anyway, we can enjoy the sight together. It was more of a statement than a question. I could hardly refuse. Yonja had always been straightforward like that. No, I don't want to quit. Since we are having dinner, how does it sound if I'm there by 6:30? I was pondering how to inform Yonja that I'd be bringing Irie as well, but he saved me the trouble. Whatever, we are all friends anyway. You can bring the girl who was beside you, or just bring someone, anyone. Oh, okay, she will probably come. Is there anything I should bring? Just tell her to bring a good set of eyes and an excellent memory. Yon just left and hung up. I was left listening to the monotonous beep of the phone. Somehow remind me that no matter how hard I tried, life would continue to throw me curveballs as it pleased. I had barely turned on the news since returning to my hometown. It had taken some time to accept the fact that the world I knew would soon be no more, and managed to get my life in order despite that. But even now, I didn't bother to contemplate things like meteor showers. In recent years, news of politicians and scientists who had committed suicide had become increasingly common. I felt proud sometimes that I had remained unbroken under the pressure of what I knew and could continue to live normally. Still, it was difficult to be completely unaffected. I had prided myself on being able to remain so normal before Yonja told me about the meteor shower. But clearly, I wasn't normal. In the past, I had always remembered when meteor showers were due to happen. Not even a trip to the emergency room could have made me forget. But now, despite pretending to remain my normalcy, the meteor shower had slipped my mind. It was fortunate that sociologists and psychologists had foreseen the consequences of sharing the information with the public and had worked with political and military leaders around the world to suppress the information. The chaos, if the general public knew of the world's impending doom, would be unimaginable. A long time ago, someone posed the question: if a group of people were locked in a room that was slowly filling with poisonous gas, and all of them were asleep save one, then should that soul-conscious person wake the others? After all, as someone said later, perhaps there was a way to save everyone, if only they all worked together, but you will never know whatever this was true unless you woke everyone up. But in our case, the locked door couldn't be opened by human strength. Perhaps it was better, more considerate to let those who slept slumber undisturbed. Now that I I thought about it, Yonja and Aijin seemed to be living normal lives as well. They had quit their jobs, but they weren't simply wasting their time on Earth, wandering from place to place like I was. I had no family responsibilities and only rarely contacted my relatives. I had no idea whether it could be considered normal for the two of them, a couple with a child, to so easily accept their fate. The hibernation equipment we would be using in our shelter couldn't be used on children. For Yonja and Aijin to enter the shelter, they would have to leave behind their own child. The topic was sensitive, and so we rarely discussed it. I had been invited to their place as a guest many times in recent years. I could still remember the feeling of warmth that had blossomed in my chest when they first invited me. Breaking off my reminiscences, I turned my thoughts to how I would spend the afternoon. I glanced around the room and couldn't help but smile. With TV turned to a rural soap opera, Ari had fallen asleep where she sat on the couch. She had turned on the air conditioning without asking permission, and the comfortable temperature in the room was making me drowsy as well. Thought it was summer, it could still get chilly in an air-conditioned room. I didn't want Ari to catch a cold napping, and besides, she was a girl, so I gently laid a clean bath towel over her sleeping form. Her sleeping face was as flawlessly white as the bath towel itself. Her ponytail was twisted in a strange angle past her neck, hanging in front of her chest. The black strands of her hair were so lovely as rippling stream. Ari looked as innocent as she had when I first met her. Perhaps slightly older, a little more mature. If this girl was seen on the streets, even when she was supposed to be in school, nobody would ever suspected that she was looking for someone to buy her for the night. A casual observer would simply think she was out of school collecting data for research project or running an errand for her teacher. Was that not true for me as well? Since yesterday I had tried so hard to understand her better, to find the reason why. Ari's arms were crossed in front of her under the bath towel, her head lowered to one side. She didn't seem very relaxed in her sleep. Without meaning to, my mind drifted back to how she had looked while asleep in my bed. I could hardly remember. Perhaps if I had another chance, but I knew the desire I'd felt for Harry had all but disappeared, leaving something akin to pity in its place. I didn't have siblings or children of my own, so I didn't know how to compare this feeling to familial love, but I did know that I will never go to bed with her again. Lacking anything better to do, I began to plan what to bring for the night. Our host had said we didn't need anything in particular, but I was a stargazing novice, after all, and I knew I had to be prepared in case she got bored. I needed something that both Yonja, 7 years old, and the 18 years old Harry would like, something suitable for a night outdoors. I hopped into my car and pulled out of the parking lot again. Even though I wanted nothing more than to lie on the sofa, it was difficult to find a store downtown that sold fireworks, so I had to drive all the way out to the little shop I used to buy from 3 or 4 years ago, back when I used to attend stargazing parties with Yonja and his neighbors. You would always pick up exciting stuff at the store to keep everyone entertained. I wasn't even sure if the store was still there. I entered the suburbs only a 20-minute drive from downtown, but completely different in appearance. The convenience stores, so abundant in the city, were replaced by small, nameless groceries. Their signs set in ancient blue on white lettering. I parked in front of a small shop and turned off the lights and air conditioning. The interior of the shop smelled of rust and nostalgia. A combination of jelly beans, cheap paper-thin sheets of red-dyed pork jerky, kept in plastic jars, and old refrigerator odors. I didn't particularly like the smell, but I didn't dislike it either. Breathing it in, I suddenly felt very young again. An old man sat behind a counter covered in plastic jars. His skin was wrinkled and dry, and he grinned as soon as he saw me, revealing two gasps in his teeth. Without asking what I was here for, he began searching under the table. People always said that the older one got, the better the memory became for things that had happened long ago. It was probably true. This old man most likely couldn't tell you what he'd eaten for dinner the previous night. Yet he remembered me, a customer from years ago, and that my usual order was for fireworks. He explained to me in garbled Taiwanese. Yeah, it's Taiwanese after all. Which of the fireworks were the newest variety? I couldn't quite understand most of his words, so I just randomly selected 2 or 3 of each kind, remembering to grab 2 packs of Fairy One sparkles while I was at it. Those were the safest. Yonjia Child was no longer a toddler, but I wasn't sure if mini rockets would be safe enough for a 7 years old. I handed over the bills and left with my small bag of fireworks. These were actually prohibited by the government now, so the stores that still sold them in secret often asked for ridiculous prices, claiming that fireworks were hard to come by. My car was a furnace when I returned to it, despite how briefly it had been left under the summer sun. I tossed the fireworks in the passenger seat. I suddenly wondered how people would react when the apocalypse came. Perhaps those closer to death would more readily accept their fate, but for newborns and the young who had only just begun to enjoy life, surely that wasn't fair. Irie too, her life was a mess, and she will never have time to become reacquainted with her family before the world ended. I didn't know whether Irie was satisfied with her current life, but I did hope that with these remaining few days I could help her experience what life was normally like for girls her age. Oh, I suddenly remembered that I had left home without leaving a note behind. I wasn't that worried Irie would steal from me, but I didn't want her to be anxious when she woke up and found herself alone in my apartment. She might take that as my hint for her to leave at her convenience. I hadn't actually told her that I wanted to bring her stargazing. What would she think? The speed limit sign appeared. I glanced at it and quickly eased up on the accelerator. I tried to convince myself that we'd agreed she won't leave without telling me first. Despite that, as I sped home, I couldn't help wondering if I should call ahead to make sure. My mind raced as I climbed the stairs to my apartment. Finally, I returned my phone to my pocket and left it there. I tried to imagine Iris' reaction when she heard me unlocking the door. I exhaled deeply and stepped inside. She was gone. The bed towel was where I had left it, but Iris was gone. Thinking she might have left a note, I headed toward the tea table. I had barely taken 2 steps when a loud surprise came from behind the door.
什么妈？居然没有被吓到，
My
这不
heart
好吧？
clenched and unclenched. I could almost feel the blood coursing through my veins. I laughed. So I didn't scare you? You're no fun. You did, I was scared, I said, trying to keep my voice flat. I suppose she couldn't see what she'd done to my heart just by looking.
哎，你生气啦？
Hey, you're
不
mad.
要生
Don't be
气
mad.
嘛！
She hung her head a little and gazed up at me. Her bangs covered her eyes slightly from this angle and made her seem even younger. I'm not mad.
嘴巴附近的肌肉
Your muscles
超
are
长的。
super tense around your mouth. I thought for a moment and decided to tell her the truth. I was just relieved. I just wanted to.
好啦，
Iris
对不
suddenly
起。
busied herself with scratching her face, playing with her hair, and scrunching the lace on her shirt. She couldn't seem to decide where to rest her gaze. Finally, she gave up and said, "Fine, I'm sorry." It was the first time I'd seen her this embarrassed since we met. If it were possible for us to have more time to be together, would it eventually become second nature for me to care about her?
这样直接说出来，好像特
It's
别
so
难
hard
招
to
架。
respond to such a straightforward
没
confession.
想到这么快就被学
Can't
去了。
believe you know how to guilt trip people too. You learn fast. I murmured. Her expression was no longer one of embarrassment. Even the way she rubbed her chin seemed teasing. Now, you know how embarrassed you always make me feel.
还是不能耶。
Still, I didn't leave my adorable cousin sleeping soundly at home without so much as not to reassure her when she woke.
而且啊，会不会对自己的表妹做什么
Iris' eyes were
这样
bright,
子的
and
呢？
I knew that whatever she said next won't be good. And I never do anything naughty to my kid cousin, right? Because you could practically see the heart take it on at the end of her sentence. As possible as it seemed, I still felt like she'd practiced this speech again and again since waking up. I had never been able to win arguments against girls as a teenager. Of course, I won't be able to win against one now, either. I shook my hand and tossed the bag of fireworks beside the chair. In my nearly transparent window pane, I saw my own helpless yet amused smile, one that reminded me of what I had once been 10 years ago. Okay guys, chapter 3 coming up. It ends now, the episode, so we are back at home. We have bought fireworks, so we can, of course, come by to our friends, having dinner, and watch some fireworks and meteor shower with Ari and everyone else. So, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like or subscribe. See you next time. Peace out.